Hello? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. That's not good. Hello? 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 Two, three. Yeah, that could be it. Okay. Send out the link. Share with later. Okay.
Benny,
Yeah,
what time is your podcast?
it's on. It's live.
Sorry.
No one's on yet. I haven't officially started.
Oh, okay. So
Waiting
you're
for
not
people
on.
to come on.
Okay. So your stuff is in this freezer.
Thanks.
I put it in a silver freezer bag so it's easier for you to take.
Okay. Welcome to whoever's on. I'll be starting momentarily. Give it a few more seconds and I'm going to start. Okay. Episode 7. Can't believe we've gotten to this point. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for episode 7 of Benny and Booth podcast. What a week we have to talk about. College football, well, I'll admit not much happened, but we've got a big week ahead of college football. NFL, I don't even know what to say. This week was crazy. Here and there, upsets, craziness. MLB Rookie of the Year was announced last night, and we have more awards coming out the rest of this week. And there was actually something that popped up in NBA, not via comments, but something last night, and I'll get into that. Let's kick it off. Hello, everybody. Welcome back for episode 7 of the podcast. Once again, thank you for all the support to this point. I really do appreciate those that watch it, comment. I did not get any comments for NBA, but I did find something to talk about. But please, if there's something you want me to talk about in future episodes, let me know in live chat. Let me know in the chat, in the comments. I'm really open to discussing whatever anyone wants to put out for me to discuss regarding NBA, because at this point, I just don't know what to discuss. All right, let's get into it. College football, week 11. Ohio State hosting Purdue. This being a revenge game for Ohio State after the last time they played them, which was at Purdue. They lost big time. This time, it was all Ohio State. All from beginning to end. CJ Stroud throwing for 5 touchdowns in the game. The offense was rolling. The defense did struggle a bit, giving up 31 points. But they were clicking. Everything was working well. And they got revenge in some more with a 59-31 victory to get revenge for 2018. And a win that still keeps them in the race for the Big Ten East and a college football playoff spot. The tough news I have to say is this week is I'm not going to be able to give you the updated standings. For the rankings, I'll do that next week because the rankings come out Tuesday nights. So that's going to be tonight. And that's going to be way later, so I'm sadly will not be able to tell you what the rankings are for this week. But I can at least give you some previews for some of the matchups for this week. One other game I do want to note from this week was Oklahoma, big team that still had somewhat of a chance to win, to be in the playoffs maybe. Lost to Baylor this week, 27-14. Don't know much about the game. I didn't watch the highlights, but it's big result, especially with the college football playoff standings. We'll see tonight where they get ranked after that loss, but they could be going down from 8. Let's get into this week because this week's a big week. Ohio State, Michigan State, the big game, a big time game. The division on the line, with the conference championship game on the line, spot on the line potentially. So here's the circumstance. Michigan State going into this game has already, Michigan State and Michigan both won last week also. Michigan State right now going in has already beat Michigan. And all they need to do to clinch the Big Ten East is to beat Ohio State at Ohio State. And if they win, division race is over. They win the Big Ten East, and they're in the Big Ten championship game. However, if they lose, they are officially eliminated no matter what from winning the Big Ten East. And it will come down to Ohio State, Michigan, or the team up north, the following week in the battle that's going to be at Michigan in Ann Arbor. So that is the circumstances. I'm hoping the Buckeyes can win both and win the East, but honestly, it's up for grabs. America's line, apparently the people in America's line in Vegas think otherwise. They have Ohio State favored. Last I checked at like 19. I'm like, you serious? Like, Michigan State can win this game. They have more of a shot than 19-point underdogs, and I was just shocked by America's line. It just threw me off. I really think Michigan State has more of a chance than that. And if I was America's line, I would have had it at 3 at 3, maybe 5 at most. I wouldn't have gone to double digits. Like, that's a crazy call by America's line. But then again, what isn't controversial in college football these days? Michigan plays, I think, like Maryland or something this week. But honestly, it might not matter depending on what happens in the Ohio State-Michigan State game. So we'll see what happens on Sunday, or Saturday, I should say. It also being senior day. And basically, senior day is the last home game for a team. They honor like the guys who are about to graduate, and whether they're going to the NFL or if they're moving on in life, they honor them the last home game of the year, which is always during the regular season, because once you get beyond the regular season, it's all neutral site games. So, yep. So that's the story. In the Big Ten West, might as well, because I have mentioned it a lot. There's two teams basically to look at who can make it from the Big Ten West, and it's between Wisconsin and Iowa. Now, Wisconsin does have the upper hand of having beaten Iowa already this year, but schedule-wise, Iowa might have a bit easier, actually. Wisconsin's schedule is this week. They're at home against Northwestern. That should be maybe an interesting game. And then, and Nebraska versus Nebraska. Sorry, they played Northwestern last week and won. They're at home versus Nebraska, which could be a bit troubling knowing what happened with Ohio State and Nebraska. Nebraska's caused a lot of teams some trouble this year, even Michigan, so maybe that's a close game. And then they finish the season at home against Minnesota, where Iowa plays Illinois this week and finishes at Nebraska next in week 13. So I'll keep you guys updated every week. But it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with the Big Ten West. But yeah, so I wish I could say I had the rankings, but it's not coming out till way later tonight. So I'm not going to be able to give you what the rankings will be. But definitely, I would say there's definitely going to be some shifts around. There's always pretty much. NFL Week 10. Before we get into the week, there were some big moves. The Browns obviously got rid of OBJ, and his next tale is he signed with the Rams for the rest of the season. We'll get into how that went because he had his debut Monday night. We'll get into that game. That's a whole nother story in its own from the rest of this week in football. There were a bunch of big injuries. Sadly, Chase Young, big defensive player for Washington football team and a former Ohio State Buckeye. He's out for the year with an ACL injury. Rough for him. Man, I don't know. And that's pretty much all before we get into this week. Thursday night football, Dolphins hosting the Ravens. This was all Miami. And this was like a big wake-up call that Miami had this game relatively beginning to end. Baltimore had a bit of a fight, but Miami had it from beginning to end, and they held on to win 22-10, which is a big-time win, which is a big-time loss for the division standings. Well, it was going into Sunday. Browns-Patriots, I literally don't know how to put this into words what happened on Sunday. They got a touchdown in their opening drive of the game and the opening drive of the game, and then they gave up 45 unanswered points. If you want the best description of what happened, I put a link in the description below, and I do recommend checking this out. The Browns radio play-by-play guy, Jim Donovan, every week gives a overall summary of what happened, and he gives it the best. There's no inappropriate languages. He puts it appropriately and just does it the best. I put it in the description. Go check out the video. It's from one of the Browns TV stations, but he describes it best. He does it the best. If you ever want to know, aside from me, if you want another perspective from Browns games, he does it the best, and I'd go check it out. He describes it, and he would do it better than I could because I don't know how to explain this. But anyways, Patriots won 45-7, and I'm searching for answers. Anyways, next up, Bills and Jets. This was all Bills. Mike White, who was a spark against the Bengals a couple weeks ago, fell flat, and the Bills were just all over the Jets. And as they pull off the win at New York, 45-17. Football team and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers coming off a bye and looking sloppy, as this was all football team from beginning to end. Obviously, sadly, The injury did happen in this game to Chase Young. Hopefully he's okay and recovers soon. But either way, football team actually come up with the upset of the Buccaneers 29-19. Next up, Dallas and Atlanta. This was a blowout. What's funny is this was actually 28-3 at one point, and I'm like, are the Falcons about to come back from 28-3? And they didn't. And they came nowhere near it. This was all Cowboys. They needed this bounce back win from after what happened against the Broncos at home as they hammered Atlanta 43-3. Someone in the live chat saying the Jets should try basketball, football clearly not their sport. Well, who says that basketball might even be their sport? Maybe there's no sport that works so well for them. Then again, they do have a Super Bowl, so maybe I shouldn't be saying anything as a Browns fan because they have won a Super Bowl in their history. But that is interesting. Maybe. Next up, Titans hosting the Saints. This actually was close at certain points. And the Titans barely eked out the win, but they did win. They had a lot of it, but Saints fought their way, especially with Trevor Siemian. Got to give them credit. They fought their way through this game. They just couldn't come out with the victory as the Titans won 23-21. Colts hosting the Jaguars. This wasn't much of a game. The Colts were all over the Jaguars. They had a block punt. Not much more to say. Colts win 23-17. One of the more interesting games of the week. Lions at the Steelers. The Lions, for the first time since last year, have their first non-loss in at least a year as they tied, yes, you heard me, tied with the Steelers. This game was sloppy. Fumbles, picks, just sloppy, bad kicks, bad special teams. I don't even, I could word this better than the Browns, but even this game's hard to, put into words, and I don't, have someone to, send you to a proper description. This just was floppy. But the Steelers and Lions tied. The Lions are no longer on a path to go 0-17, though they still could go 0-16-1, and that would be hilarious. But definitely a big for Detroit as it's a tie 16-16. Chargers hosting the Vikings. This was back and forth, but the Vikings did jump out to a 27-13 lead or so. Chargers got a touchdown back, but did not help them that much. Maybe it was a field goal. Either way, Vikings had a lead. They got it big, and that was all they needed as they pull off the upset on the road against the Chargers 27-20. Next up, Carolina at Arizona. Cam Newton back in Carolina for the first time since basically before he went to New England, and he was all over the Cardinals, though you can't really blame the Cardinals because they were without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins again. Newton went off, had a great game, and the Panthers steamrolled the Cardinals at Arizona 34-10. Next up, Packers at Seahawks. Rodgers was playing this week, Wilson's first week back, and for the first time in his career, he got shut out as the Packers won 17-0. It was also a sloppy game, especially since Pete Carroll was trying to go for his challenge flag, and instead he took out an electronic warmer or something, which was just hilarious. But either way, Packers win 17-0. One of the other big surprises of this week, Philly at Denver. I knew this would be. I picked Denver because I thought they were going to beat them. The Eagles said no, thank you, 30-13. The only thing I will say that describes this game is Darius Slay of the Eagles had a fumble recovery, and as he was going, Teddy Bridgewater didn't even try to tackle him as he went in for the touchdown. It was all Eagles as they win 30-13 on the road. Sunday Night Football, Chiefs and Raiders. I thought this would be a close game. I thought the Raiders would have a shot. I guess the Raiders are not a part of the good teams that can actually beat the Chiefs this year because the Chiefs actually whooped them 41-14 at Vegas. Big win for the Chiefs as they get out of the basement of the division. Big surprise that this was a blowout, especially that the Chiefs won. But you never know what to expect in the NFL these days, as they pulled off a win Sunday night, 41-14. And to close off last night's game, OBJ's first game as a Ram, 2 catches for 18 yards, had a pick. He actually made a tackle, but also had a pick. But the Rams are just sloppy. Pick 6. And Matthew Stafford starting to look like his own line self. Someone was saying it's just midseason judders or butterflies, and they get a bye this week. But their next game's Green Bay, and I think if he sucks that game too, he might not be as good as people think he is, and he might just be on it back to his Lions old self. We'll see what happens, but the Niners were all over the Rams, 31-10, and that is the Week 10 results. We'll get into my predictions record from last week and for this week, but I was bad in predictions this week. I'll just tell you that. A standings update. AFC East, the Bills are 6-3 up top of the division, followed by the 6-4 Patriots, followed by the 3-7 Dolphins, followed by the 2-7 Jets. AFC North, 6-3 Ravens up top, followed by the 5-3-1 Steelers, followed by the 5-4 Bengals, followed by the 5-5 Browns. AFC South, the Titans up top at 8-2, followed by the Colts who are 5-5, followed by the Jaguars who are 2-7, followed by the Texans who are 1-8. AFC West, the Chiefs up top at 6-4, the Chargers, followed by the Chargers and the Raiders who are even at 5-4, followed by the Broncos at the bottom of the division at 5-5. NFC East, Dallas still up top at 7-2, followed by the Eagles who are 4-6, followed by football team and Giants who are both 3-6. AFC North, Packers up top at 8-2, followed by the Vikings who are 4-5, followed by the Bears who are 3-6, followed by the 8-1 Detroit Lions. AFC South, the Buccaneers up top at 6-3, followed by the Saints who are 5-4, followed by the Panthers who are 5-5, followed by the Falcons who are 4-5. And then the NFC West, Cardinals who are 8-2, followed by the Rams who are 7-3, followed by the Niners who are 4-5, followed by the Seahawks who are 3-6, and that is the standings update. Last week in predictions, I went 5-1, my worst since doing this podcast. And you know what? You have your good weeks and you have your bad weeks with predictions. That's what you learn, and you just got to move on. It's definitely rough to have a rough week of predictions, but hey, it happens. But I do have still a good record overall with the podcast. My record is now 45-27-1. So let's get into Week 11 predictions. Thursday Night Football, you have the Patriots and Falcons rematch of Super Bowl 51, or some people, or especially I like to reference it, Super Bowl 28-3. Falcons are not getting revenge. I have the Patriots. I think the Patriots are just too hot, especially after steamrolling the Browns. I have the Patriots in this one. Indy at Buffalo on Sunday. This is rematch of the divisional round playoffs of wild card playoff game of last year. No reward for the Colts. I think Buffalo will win this game. Baltimore hosting Baltimore at the Bears. I have the Ravens. Detroit at Cleveland. I'm going to put it this way: if the Browns lose this game, their season's over. Which I think tells you what my pick is. My pick is the Browns, but I will flat out tell you, if they lose this game to Lions, their season's over. I'm at that cusp. And I think a lot of people are at that cusp as Browns fans. So we'll see what happens on Sunday. I actually was going to maybe be at this game, but things did not work out. But I am going to be at a football game this year. I'm going to be at Browns-Ravens in a couple of weeks. It's the Sunday after after the official Shabbos Hanukkah this year. Texans at Titans. I have Titans. Packers at Minnesota. I have the Packers. Dolphins at Jets. I have Dolphins. Saints at Eagles. I have Eagles. Football team at Panthers. I have Panthers, especially with how Cam Newton looked last week. Niners at Jaguars. Niners. Bengals at Vegas. This could be a very interesting game, but I do have Vegas. Chiefs hosting the Cowboys. This could be an interesting game. But I'm not sure if I'm sorry, Cowboy fans, but I think Kansas City is going to win this game. Arizona at Seattle. I have Arizona. Sunday Night Football is the Steelers at the Chargers. I have the Chargers. And Monday Night Football is the Giants at the Buccaneers. I have the Buccaneers. And that is my NFL Week 11 predictions. So for the first time in a week or two, we're actually talking about baseball, as there were some big signings, big contracts, and we're officially in MLB awards season, as Rookie of the Year was announced last night. I'm actually going to start with that, as Rookie of the Year was announced last night. The rest of the awards will be announced throughout this week, and then I'll talk about it next week. But Rookie of the Year, for the AL, the candidates were Randy Arozarena, Wander Franco, and Luis Garcia. And the winner was Randy. I was actually a bit shocked until I saw that he led, I think it was either all AL or just all rookies in hits. And he also had 2020 season, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. But that did shock me a bit. I thought it was going to go to Franco or Garcia. For the National League, it was between Jonathan India, Trevor Rogers, and who was the third guy? I'm leaning on the third guy. But anyway, Jonathan India won. Patrick Wisdom in the Cubs, I thought, would be a candidate. He did not end up being a candidate. He did get 5 votes, but it didn't help much as Jonathan India won. Once I saw Wisdom wasn't in the votes, I said India's winning National League Rookie of the Year. That's the only awards that have been announced. Tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central, figure it out based on your own time zone. On MLB Network, they're going to be announcing the managers of the year for the American League and National League. The candidates for the AL is Dusty Baker of the Astros, Kevin Cash of the Rays, and Scott Servais of the Seattle Mariners. I think Servais will win. For the National League, it's between Craig Counsell, Gabe Kapler, and Mike Schilt. And Mike Schilt actually got fired recently, which is funny. I think Kapler's going to win it. The Giants are just great. We're just a great story this year. One of the best stories in baseball. And I don't think anyone's beating him out for Manager of the Year. So that's my predictions for tonight. So talking about baseball news that happened this week. Well, for starters, Eduardo Rodriguez, a lefty starting pitcher who was with the Boston Red Sox last year, got a big contract from the Detroit Tigers and will be a part of the Detroit Tigers. 5 years. Just pulling up for $77 million, including an opt-out after the second season as well. Interesting. I didn't even realize the opt-out until I just saw that. But I feel like they overpaid. He's a great pitcher, don't get me wrong, but he's just struggled so much in his career that I feel like they overpaid way too much for him. I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe I can prove him wrong. Other news, literally today, Jose Barrios signed a mega deal to stay in Toronto. A 7-year, $131 million deal. I also think he got overpaid because he will have these good years, and then he'll have these years where he's just off. I don't know. So, but he's a great pitcher. It's just those off years is just what throws me off of why they gave him this big of a contract. And then the last free agency move today is that Noah Syndergaard will not be a Met next year. This was a big surprise. Oh, actually, there's 2 other news that are not free agency moves I'm going to talk about. But he's going to be an Angel next year for 1 year, $21 million. I think that's the right contract for him, especially coming off injury. Whether he'll succeed there in Anaheim, I have no idea. Other news I want to talk about, the Mets have a new GM in Billy Epler, who was the GM of the Angels, and I don't think it was a good move by Steve Cohen. I'm starting to wonder, what's up there in New York, because he claimed when he came that he was going to be for the fans, and he was going to bring a ring. I think people are starting to wonder what the heck is going on. Really, you're bringing the guy who gave out big contracts to people in Anaheim, and most, if not all of them, have failed. I can give you two big ones that failed: Justin Upton and Andrelton Simmons. Simmons is on the Twins, and Upton is still in the Angels, at least as of last year. So yeah, I mean, good luck with that, Mets. And then the formerly Cleveland Indians, now Cleveland Guardians, did settle their lawsuit on their new name. They will be now the Cleveland Guardians, even after the whole controversy they were in with the rollerblading team. Both teams are keeping their names. So that's big news. Yeah, not much more to say on that. That's it for MLB. NBA, the Bulls last night were playing the Lakers, and this is the one thing I want to mention about NBA, because I saw this on like social media and NBA app today. So last night the Bulls were in LA playing the Lakers. They dominated. They won 190, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. LeBron, who I guess is injured or something, I think he's injured, was on the bench, like not playing, and he got so bored of the game. He literally went into the locker room before the game was over, literally just to like tweet congrats to Alex Caruso, who was once on the Lakers, who's now on the Bulls, for what he did with the Lakers and a bunch of other things. And I'm just like, really? Like, really? LeBron? I don't know. I never understood LeBron. He's just a weird, mysterious case. Yeah. That's it for this week in NBA and this week's podcast. So let's wrap up this week's episode. Thank you for coming on for this week's episode. Once again, if you want a proper description for what happened on the Browns game on Sunday, check the link in the description to the video that links to the video that Jim Donovan, the play-by-play radio guy for the Cleveland Browns, gives a good description. He does one for every week. Next week we'll have the college Ohio State, Michigan State to talk about, and whether the conference division race is over or not, and what's the story with that Big Ten West, NFL Week 11, NFL Week 12 predictions, last of MLB awards, the college football rankings from this week that are going to be revealed tonight, I think at 9, I'm not sure exactly the time, and more. If you are new, leave a like on the stream, subscribe to the channel, and leave the notification bell on so you know when I go live. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next week. Most likely again Tuesday. Bye.